So the title of this is Reduce Chlorides and Save Money. It's a win-win. This was originally prepared for private contractors, but it does carry over very easily to the municipal world. You just have to exchange a couple words. If I use the word profit, then you just need to translate that to budget savings. If I use the word customer, you just have to, whatever word you use, townspeople or, whoever the taxpayers are. So this is what this was named for me. Given my own choice on the name, what I probably would have went with is something along here. Make a ton more money cutting how much salt you use. You don't need a brine truck. There's some fallacies I want to get over here, that this salt reduction can't be done without fully implemented brine systems. I want to help you guys get over that. It's stupid simple. You're throwing your money away, and I want to help you. Oh, and it's better for the environment. I would like to focus on the environment part. However, there's already lots of information, lots of studies on the environmental impacts. So I want to focus more on the bottom line. So there's a lot of, unfortunately, there's just a lot of ways of the world that what's going to drive this is bottom, not environmental issues at times. So just some lessons that we've used in-house here. I guess you would have to respond to Allison to this. I'm wondering how many of you guys actually have some sort of salt meter in your truck, something that would count how many tons of salt or pounds of salt are coming out of your trucks. Could you just type in like me or something so Allison can at some point let me know, hey, there's a couple, but I'm going to guess.
Yeah, people can type that into the chat, say like we have a salt meter in our truck or we don't, as far as your knowledge goes.
And then another thing, I would usually just ask you guys, you need to answer, but that doesn't work here. I'm wondering how many of you guys use 1,000+ tons of salt per year. I'm guessing that's all of you, or the majority of you, and then more. And then I want you to think about how many pounds per ton. I'm sorry, how many pounds per acre of salt you apply, or how many pounds per lane mile. And lane mile is usually about 1.5 acres. So round number, if you're putting 1,000 pounds of salt per acre down, you're probably putting 1,500 per lane mile. Because I believe there's some contractors in here too. Contractors typically are per acre. Municipalities often more lane mile. In my general understanding and 25 years experience here doing this, about 600 pounds per acre is what I see the average municipality and contractor using. This slide, that's a photo of our salt shed. We go through about 3,000 tons of salt a year. Prior to Saltwise working with us, at the same scale, we would have been going through about 6,000 tons. So that 6,000 tons, that's more than, we did some looking one time, that's more than the majority of the municipalities in Wisconsin. Not the big cities, but most municipalities. Let's move on to the next one here. Oh, went the wrong way, sorry. So why do this? Why is it important? These on the list are in order of what most snow contractors want. When I say profit an extra 100,000 per year on the municipality end, that would be reduce your budget, or I would say don't reduce your budget, use less of your budget. What I want to help you do is use less of your salt budget. And I know you got kind of a use it or lose it issue sometimes. So what I want to do is help you reduce how much salt you use out of that budget so that you can use the remaining money for other salt or snow related items, like better snow plows, like pushers, better salters, sprayers, things like that, where you can go back to the powers that be and say, hey, we were able to cut $20,000 off of our salt budget I'd like to use that 20 grand to invest into some equipment that will help us routinely save $40,000 on our salt budget. So in the contracting world, that's just extra money that we can put towards wages, equipment, profit, whatnot. I just look at my notes here really quick. So saving $100,000 per year, that number is based off of a company that or municipality that applies 3,000 tons of salt per year. So if you're currently putting down 3,000 tons and you cut that in half, that's $100,000 difference. And those numbers are coming with salt being $75 a ton delivered. We're not using crazy years where salt prices spike and whatnot. These are just your average $75 a ton delivered. On a smaller scale, if you only use 1,500 tons per year, you cut that down to 750. That's $25,000 a year you're saving. But why do this? There's that top reason there we just talked about. I know you want to have the best looking lots in town. If you're a municipal contractor, you're still doing some lots, you're doing your roadways. You want them looking better than the other municipalities around you. How often have you been driving your truck, plowing the municipal roadway? You get to the end of yours, turn around, and that's where the new municipality starts. And you're like, that one looks like crap. Mine looks great. That's a good feeling. I want you to still experience that. And I also want you to know that this can all be accomplished with no brine trucks, no brine maker, and no steep learning curve. And obviously the greener, we're reducing chlorides in the process. And I'm really interactive. And for me, unfortunately, this is a very non-interactive process here. So interrupt at any time. Ask a question, give me a reason to stop and start talking about something else. So question for you, can you cut your salt usage by 50% without your customers or townspeople noticing any sacrifice in quality? And why? What's to gain from a 50% reduction? I just want you to think about that for a second. Sorry, I keep going the wrong way here. So let's see here. Some of the additional ways you're going to save some money here by reducing your chloride, your salt usage. You've got your initial 50%. If you were able to cut your salt usage by 50, that might sound crazy. It's realistic. We used to put 600 pounds per acre down. That would come out to 900 pounds per lane mile. We went with salt-wise practices. We went from going 600 pounds per acre down to 200 to 300 pounds per acre. It's doable. My customers noticed no difference whatsoever. We still pile it down pretty heavy in front of the doors, some handicap areas, the main areas, just like I'm sure you all have intersections in your city where, the typical rates are going to go out the window. You just need to pile it heavy on a couple of intersections, but the majority of the roadways, you can really cut back. So you got your 50% savings in your salt purchases. That also equates to 50% less covered storage space you need for a salt shed or a salt dome, because you're using half as much. That's 50% further your trucks can go before they stop back to reload. So, if you were, I don't know, if you were covering 10 lane miles, now you can go 20 before they come back. And same for parking lots. If you picture how far a 5-yard salter went, well, now you're getting as far as a 10-yard salter would have been. So that's much less labor, much less fuel, much less turnaround time. You're also some unintended things that we experienced that were great is we found we're able to use smaller trucks. We used to have much larger salt trucks, and now since the truck goes twice as far, we just run smaller trucks with some smaller hoppers because we get just as much out of it. Lower exposure to price hikes during shortages. If you only have to buy half as much salt when that price spikes by $30 a ton, you're much more immune to that. And we got the drastic chloride runoff, or sorry, drastic reduction in chloride runoff. And I just want to, sorry, a lot of this is preface. It'll get a little better here, but I want to mention I'm not addressing sidewalks here. At some point, I might do a different webinar on sidewalks. And it's every bit as important with sidewalks. But all the numbers I'm referring to, I just want you to know that these are referencing parking lots, and all math is with normal price salt at 75 bucks a ton delivered. And the reason I'm not addressing sidewalks here, we're putting 1,000 times more salt down on the roadways than we are on the sidewalks. Focusing on sidewalks is like stepping over quarters to save pennies. Yes, sidewalks need to be addressed, but it's almost an afterthought compared to how much salt we're putting down on the parking lots. So these are probably parking lots, roadways we've all seen before. And I just want to stress the way we were taught was wrong. I'm 46, and the old guys who taught me were, you make it crunch, you make it look like a French fry. Everyone needs to have the security of seeing how much salt is there, put down enough salt that it's going to last the next 2 storms or whatnot. There's just no need. We're not getting anything more. And this is mostly all just washing off and going down into the sewer systems and whatnot. What were you taught? I wish you guys could tell me. Allison, we got any comments yet or anything? Oh, Allison is muted.
No, I'm here. I was trying to go back and look at the comments, but I'm also on one screen. So just as you said that, I didn't see any a minute ago when I looked, but I'm encouraging people to put some comments in.
Come on, somebody asked me a question, something.
Yeah. So once I see something, I will pop
All
in
right.
for you.
All
Okay,
right.
Aaron? Okay.
Sounds good. So some of the things that have generally been taught in the snow industry, 600 pounds per acre. We're subcontracted by a lot of companies. We've got people who hire us to tell us that their normal rate is 1,000 pounds per acre. That is crazy, but people do it. 600 pounds is about average. And just old practices like salting away 1 to 2 inches of snow. Maybe when you're using rubber edged plows, maybe because you're leaving an inch of snow anyways after you plow with a rubber cutting edge, but not the right way to go anymore. We plow anything 3/4 inch or more, and honestly, even at times if it's a wetter snow, if it's a 1/2 inch, we plow that as well. That will infinitely reduce how much salt you need to put down. Another fallacy, switching the salt brine will cut your salt in half and save you a ton of money. This is much more true on the municipal end, where you're just doing a straight line down the roads. In the parking lots, not so much, because you actually want that scatter in the parking lots. And unfortunately, especially earlier on, when the numbers were presented for this cost savings with going to brine, there are some fallacies and bad math. I mean, the math worked out, but what was happening is people are using the correct application rate of brine to figure out how much it's costing you to salt a certain amount of acres or lane miles with brine. But then they're using the incorrect amount of salt to compare it to as if you were going to salt a parking lot just with rock salt. If you actually run the numbers side by side, 100 gallons per acre of salt brine versus 200 to 300 pounds per acre of rock salt, the cost is identical because you have the identical amount of chlorides hitting that acre. Where the difference happens is when people figure in 1,000 pounds per acre of rock salt versus only 100 gallons per acre of brine. So that really skews the numbers in the brine's favor when realistically you shouldn't be putting down 1,000 pounds anyways.
Yeah, I just popped in to kind of emphasize that point because I actually have people take a look at in the class now what are recommended application rates in granular at a given temperature zone, given, amount of precipitation, and then what's the recommended application rate for liquid. And if you do the math out and you go back and you look at how many pounds, would that be per lane mile or in your case per acre, they're actually really just about the same, right? But like you said, people aren't comparing appropriate amounts of granular to appropriate amounts of brine. We're comparing very inappropriate amounts of granular salt that we are historically, been putting down to the appropriate amount of salt in brine form. So,
Correct. Yeah, we're using the scientifically correct number with
mhm.
brine, and then we're just using the traditional numbers with granular salt. Where if
Mm,
we use the scientifically correct number for both, it's then apples to apples. So
mm.
thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Um, some other ways we were taught that was wrong. Using brine instead of salt is always less chlorides and in turn less salt applied. We just kind of covered that. On the contracting end, hourly and per pound pricing is good. That is the worst. If you're a contractor on here, you got to get rid of those. There is no incentive for you to do better. If you are hourly and per pound, then you might as well just use a 1985 ProTech rubber cutting edge pusher, leaving an inch of hard pack, and then tell your customer that, it takes 2,000 pounds per acre to burn that off because that's the only way you're going to make money. This is how it was done in 1986. These above statements are wrong, and we are in an awesome time in the snow plowing industry. The amount of technology that has come out in the salting end, the brining end, the plowing end, the sectional plows, the live edge plows, it is cool what you can do with a plow right now. I mean, I hear stories from the older guys who used to have to lift their plow, get out, pull a pin and angle it, and then put the pin back in, get in, and do that every time they wanted to do something. I mean, even back to like dispatch. I just missed the time of plowing where you had to go out with a pile of quarters in your pocket. So as soon as you finished what you were doing, you could go to a payphone and call back the office to see what's next. So thankfully, I just missed all of that. I just like this picture. I threw it in here. These are a couple of my daughters and their friend watching fireworks while sitting on one of our wheel loaders at the county fair. Um, so let's see how some of these things are possible, how you can get to these application rates that I'm talking about. No, number one, a salt meter is needed. There's an old saying, you can't manage what you can't manage what you can't measure. Um, historically with a salter, you load it up, you salt what you need to salt, and someone looks over their shoulder or climbs up into the bed and says, I think I put down 4 tons here. And you know what? When we started running salt meters 10 years ago, we found that people were, to the best of their ability, being truthful. However, one of my operators legitimately thought he was putting down 3,000 pounds. Another operator legitimately thought he was putting 7,000 pounds. And in the end, they were both way off. So once you have, I mean, off by thousands of pounds. Now multiply that by, 200 sites. When you have a salt meter, there's other things you can do, such as the next line, use the accurate pavement measurements. So once we started running salt meters, so we measured all of our sites, figured out exactly how many acres they are, and then from there made a chart in each truck that has a low and a high salting. So this lot always gets 700 pounds on a low, 1,000 pounds on a high. You could do the same thing for lane miles as well. So once you have that, anybody can get in that truck and you're going to have the same amount of salt going down. They drive, they get halfway done, and they're like, "Oh, I guess I need to dial it down a little bit because I'll be putting too much salt down here." Or I need to dial it up, drive faster, drive slower, whichever. But you get some consistency from operator to operator. You also get some oversight then because guys don't have to guess. They don't want to guess. Like we got no pushback from this. Every one of my guys was thrilled with the meters that went in there to be able to actually know. In fact, they thought it was comical. The first handful of storms, they were like, wow, I always thought this was like 5,000 pounds I'm putting down here. I'm only putting down 2,500 pounds. Or we found guys that were the other way around too. It was tons and tons more. A salt meter, uh, Western snowplows, they makes us, I don't want to endorse anyone, just what's out in the market right now. Western came out with one this year. It's $600 and it retrofits onto any salter that's like 6 years and newer of a Western. $600. You will save $600 in salt with this thing in the first two storms. It's a no-brainer. Look at it as a money maker, and a really quick one. There's other companies that have them too, especially on the municipal end. But on the contracting end, the municipal ones are thousands of dollars usually. There are starting to be some lesser expensive ones in the market in the contracting area. Active edge plows. If you look at the picture on bottom here, that's what I'm referring to as active edge is the industry standard word. Every company has their own. This one's a trace edge. Some have live edge. Some have sectionals. Basically, what I'm referring to is on your bigger plows, get rid of the 10 and 12 and 14-foot solid piece of steel across the bottom. Ones that are in like 2-foot sections, whether it's the cutting edge or the whole or sections of the mold board, they trace the contours. The scrape that type of plow is getting is night and day compared to what we're used to with the straight edge plow. And then what that's doing is it means there's less snow that we gotta melt away with salt. Plow 3/4 of an inch or more. Don't try and melt away an inch, 3/4, inch and a half. These plows plow everything so fast. You've already got your equipment paid for. The guys can plow a 1-inch storm, whether it's on the city roads or a parking lot, so quickly. Get that thing plowed, get paid for it, put salt down. And then the other step that is a must in reducing your chlorides, your salt usage by, let's say, a quarter to half, is either pre-wetting your salt and pre-treating your salt. Pre-wetting is best. Pre-treating is still pretty darn good. And the difference between the two, pre-treating or pre-treated salt is salt that you get that already has the liquid calcium chloride and some other liquids mixed in with it. Whether you're a municipality or private contractor, whoever you're buying your bulk salt from, they have another option. It's about 20 to 25 bucks a ton more, but it's worth it. It'll cut your usage down. If you do nothing, if you make no other changes, but using pre-treated salt, you will cut your salt usage down by 30% if you choose to. If you still put the same amount down, I can't do anything about that. But you will get the same results with 30% less salt with pre-treated salt, and you'll actually get a colder melting temperature. I mean, we've melted salt with pre-wet and pre-treated salt. Sorry, melted snow when it's below zero if the sun is out. Pre-wet salt is when you have, in addition to your salt hopper, when you have a brine tank somewhere in there that sprays the salt as it's coming off of the truck. That actually is scientifically, you're going to get more melt with less product and at a colder temperature. So every salter on the market now comes with an OEM pre-wet kit that you can put on there, and it is dirt cheap, just like the salt meter, a couple storms, and it is paid for. So on a municipal budget, cut your salt usage or propose we can cut our salt usage by X amount, and with that money that is saved, we want to use it to add on this additional equipment to ensure that we can further reduce salt usage. And then the other huge aspect in cutting your salt usage is putting less salt down. sounds stupid to say that, but if you take all these steps and don't adjust the dial on your truck, and just keep doing the same thing, well, then you didn't save any salt. You have to legitimately and intentionally turn the knobs on your truck to get yourself down to 100 to 300 pounds per acre. Saltwise teaches it. I did not believe it. Just so you guys know, I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I did not believe it. A bunch of our guys went, did some seminars, came back, told me that this was possible. I said, not a chance. And they harped on me for a while that they wanted to do it. And finally I said, all right, you can do it if our customers never notice and I don't notice. And I said, you are not allowed to do this on the front of the stores, on the handicap spots, or where the employees park. And so they said, sure. And lo and behold, it worked. So I've now on a whole, we'll hit it heavy on the handicap spots and the doorways of the store in front of there, but everywhere else we've cut it down to this. Now I do drink the Kool-Aid. So and on the contracting end, like we talked about, you got to convert all time and material to per push and per salt or seasonal. And when you do that, keep your salting price the same. Don't drop your salt price in half because you're cutting it in half. If you need to be a little more aggressive on a job, now you can, but keep your price the same.
All right,
Al,
Aaron, I'm popping in to make your day. We have a question.
All right.
So the question is, what type of plow blade works best on pavers? So if people have permeable pavers, large areas of landscape pavers, do you recommend the active edge plow blade, rubber blade, broom? What do you got?
Sure. Okay. I'm going to say that's a caveat. That's a definite difference from everything else. Because that's more of a high-end thing there, and it's usually not acres of that. It's usually a section, more for aesthetic look. A broom is going to work best. There's no two ways about that. That's probably if you have that ability. Where I'm at in West Bend Mutual used to have paved area, and I know they used a broom on that section. That worked best. I think you're gonna have to be careful with any kind of plow on there, because with a metal edge, they do have a tendency to want to scrape those. I'd especially most newer plows, a lot of them have carbide edges. I'd be concerned about using a carbide one on there. A lot of people will use a rubber cutting edge, sorry, not a rubber, a polyurethane. So if you are going to use something with a cutting edge, I would say ideally you would use a polyurethane edge on there. What do they call it? UED. There's some initials. If you talk to whoever you get your plows edges from, they'll know what you're talking about. So I would say first priority would be a broom. If that's not, then I would something with a rubber cutting edge. But if you're on the contracting end, that's a conversation you'll have to talk to the property about. Like, hey, I can use my regular plow. There's a chance we might scrape this up. Are you good with that? If they're okay, I'd sure make them sign something saying that you're not responsible for damage to it. If not, then you got to figure in the cost of leaving another plow on site that's got a polyurethane cutting edge. So hopefully that answers. At the end of this presentation, I've got my name, my number, my email. You guys can reach out to me, and we'll have a conversation about any of these things, or something like that. If I didn't fully answer that question, yeah, reach out to me.
Thanks, Aaron.
So, went the wrong way again. All right. I just want to reiterate to everyone, a brine maker and brine truck is not the answer. It'll help if you're in the on the municipal end. Yes, brine is doing wonderful things. And you probably will need that. If you're doing parking lots, you can do this without brine. So, it says it right on top here. It's sorry, I forgot about that. It's no brainer for roadways. There's no scatter You can go pretty far with the brine check. See what else we got on here. So on the commercial end, we've invested over 200 grand into brine between trial and error, different sprayers, training, brine makers, tanks. I would never do it again. We invested 200 grand in it because all the numbers and everything we're using the wrong application numbers. I wish we had gone through Saltwise before we went into brine because we thought brine was the answer. The real answer was put down less salt, scrape the parking lots better, and put down less salt. So we do some pre-wetting with it. We kind of use it more as a novelty at some places now. I mean, we were fully all in doing all of our lots with it, and we just backed out. It's incredibly expensive and time consuming. We do our sidewalks exclusively with brine though. So sidewalks we are, unless it's an ice storm, we're 100% in. And if someone wants to talk to me about that later, just give me a call or an email. I'll drive to see it probably if you're not too far because I'd rather do that. So let's see. Let me try to run through this one really quick. Everyone can cut salt usage and drive profits if they're applying at the traditional if you were using the traditional industry rates, you've got so much room to grow here. You know what? I covered everything on this slide. And move to the next one. All right. This is our case study. Some of this I've talked about already. So I'll just read it out loud. Extra Mile, that's our company. When we were using 600 pounds per acre, we'd use on average 3,000 tons a winter. Since we've lowered our application rates, I should say, and use better plows between, I mean, just if you want to hear some names, we all like stuff. We all like equipment in this chat, I'm sure. We've used Metal Pluses, Arctics, Western, SnowX, an occasional Fisher. All those have active edges on the bottom that trace. So the combination of that and these other things, we cut our salt usage from 3,000 tons down to 1,500. That is $115,000 a year difference. That's crazy. That's mind-boggling. On a smaller scale, if you only spend 50,000 a year on salt, and I'm going to be real conservative, this is doable for everyone. If you're already kind of halfway doing this stuff, one more step will get you to what I'm proposing here. If you're doing nothing, then just buying treated salt would get you to where I'm about to go here. If you spend 50 grand a year on salt, cut your salt usage by only 25%, you just saved $12,500 a year. I want to be real. You had to spend 2,500 bucks on brine that you bought from someone else or from the county or whatnot, but that's still 10 grand. And that's only by cutting it 25%. You know, you cut it by 50, that's a $20,000 swing. Truthfully, that profit or that savings, it's far greater than that because this doesn't take into effect that you can use smaller salt trucks, that your trucks can go, you can treat 50% more properties. That's wrong. You can treat 100% more properties because you just doubled it. So I'm not a mathematician. Sorry, I'll have to change that slide. Let's see. I'm just about done. Got 2 slides, then hopefully you got some more questions here. On the billing end, just more for the contractors here, melting away 1 inch of snow is a bad model and it's expensive. You'll need a very clean scrape, get paid for the plowing, and then put down the correct 200 plus or minus pounds per acre. So instead of just, if you go melt away 1 salting or one inch of snow, you're probably getting paid for the same amount for the salt. You're probably getting paid that event for the same thing, whether you put down 5 times your normal rate of salt or whether you put down your normal rate. Chance it with these lower rates. And if you need to, and then follow through, show up 3-4 hours later, double check it. If you got to spot salt something, you already know where you got to spot salt. You've been there 100 times. But most of the time what's happening is you're putting down so much salt that first storm that it's snowing again an inch in a day or two. And you have so much salt left on the parking lot already that you don't even have to go back and salt again because there's so much residual salt. So now you just over applied the first time, only got one billing out of it, and didn't get to salt that next storm. So you just cost yourself a ton and lost an entire salting event that you could have billed out. On the billing end, you got to remove the per pound and change that to per application and start billing a set price that was the average of what you used to put down. The customers won't care. When you were billing hourly or high, medium, low for different salting rates, I mean, how many times do you have the customers call you at the end of the month and say, well, how come you needed 2,000 pounds this day, but only 700 pounds that day? I mean, never mind that there was a 15-degree temperature swing or something, but just bill them what the average is and don't give them reasons to ask questions. It'll make your life easier. If you're doing brining as well, just change that to read de-icing and bill it as you would, same price as a salt or a pre-salt. Don't give the customers the opportunity to constantly every month be asking you, well, how come you brine this day, salt that day? We just changed it. Our invoice says de-icing. They should not care how we get the ice or the snow, our customers are paying for bare pavement. If for the same price I can get it done better and faster with guys with blow dryers or blow torches, who cares? What they want is bare pavement by the time they open their business. And I got them that. Let's go on to the next one here. All right, now I really want some questions here. First, you got my info there. You can write it down if you want. You can reach out to me. There's probably some of you guys out there saying, yeah, I've done some of this stuff and it's working, or some that might be like, yeah, this makes sense. I'm interested. Hopefully this is the second or third time that something of this idea has been presented to you. So you've had time to think about it and maybe implement a little, but there's probably some of you guys out there that are like, nah, this dude's full of crap. It's not going to work. So can't see any of your faces right now. Hopefully someone's laughing. There's probably some 65-year-old guy that's 2 years away from retiring out there that's like, this is how we did it when I was taught in 1984, and this is how we're going to do it till I'm retiring because I'm too old to change. I don't know. If that's you, have a great retirement when it comes up. But if you think I'm wrong, we got a couple minutes here. Type in some questions. What am I missing?
All right, Aaron. So your first question is up here. Actually, let me bring it back up.
Can you read it in a real contractory, DPW, gruff kind of voice for me?
Well, I think this one actually
No.
came in from a potentially an engineer.
Oh, I
So
stereotyped everyone here. I'm sorry,
a
guys. I'm
stormwater
really sorry.
project manager. So
Oh, God.
down in
Okay.
Watertown. So the question is, can you address how to try out something when safety is the driver? And they continued on to say,
Oh,
how
sure.
do we get someone to try a new method or product if safety is that goal? How do we ease fears of something that's now working when it doesn't work? You know, there's concerns ice can be
Yes,
hazardous to everybody. Like, how do we persuade them to try something
sure.
different?
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because that's something that was my fear. I was that person saying, no, not a chance. We're not doing this. So two things. One thing to keep in mind is an ice storm. Let's just take the worst case scenarios out of this. Don't practice on your first ice storm. You know, we get an ice storm going into this winter. Do what you would have normally done with the hopes that soon you'll be doing something different. Because that's not the time to learn this, to find out you didn't put enough down. But you'll quickly learn how to handle this. So how to ease those fears. Don't fully implement this on your entire city right off the bat. Take an area. We're going to do the cul-de-sac this way. Or we're going to do, if you have 4 routes, we're just going to do one of the routes this way. Or a couple of the parking lots. And kind of do a case study for a month. see what the operators see. Better yet, if you have two places close to each other that you can do side by side, if we're talking parking lots, do half a parking lot the new way and half the parking lot the old way and watch. If you've got a 2-lane road with a divider down the middle and it's not too big of a safety issue that you're worried, do the northbound lanes one way, the southbound lanes another way. But I think you kind of get, hope you grasp where I'm going there with is implement it on a small scale. One section of town, one piece of roadway, one truck. Try it first and then let people get some experience with it. We had with our YMCA in our city, we had wanted to switch. That was our last place that we didn't use brine on the walkway and this like 40-foot wide staircase. And we've been for years telling them that we want to use brine, it'll do better. And they would tell us, no, our customers want to see the granular. And we'd even get yelled at if we used the white treated salt. It's got to be blue or purple, something they can see. So it took us several years, and then finally us convincing them that all their tile, part of the reason it's getting ruined inside is the salt getting tracked in. I told them I would use brine for free for a month for their walkways. We used it for a week and they were like, yeah, do this. Everyone loves it. It's no problem. So hopefully that gives you some ideas.
No, that's great, Aaron. And there's actually, so I mentioned I'm in Walworth County right now, and we just had an event with some of the municipalities, and the village of Walworth made their own brine applicator unit,
Yep.
both for a truck, but also for a little sidewalk sprayer. And yeah, the guy's like so stoked about it. He made it for the truck, and his one colleague was like, well, what about the sidewalks? So I told him he's got to check out your webinar today and then your one in the future, all about, yeah, spraying sidewalks.
Yeah, if
Because
anyone wants to talk sidewalks, we've been doing that for over 10 years. We've learned some mistakes on equipment and what to use, but we got it pretty dialed in, and I happy to have a great phone call on that.
And like you said, sometimes it's just that sometimes the overuse because that's the perception, right? That we should see more salt down. And
Yeah.
I know you talked about like the cost and like that tracking into a building, but I just read that right around the Capitol, they have some of those pavers around the Capitol Square, and they're slated to spend $6.4 million to replace them this coming year. And I think they're
Actually,
going
that
to do
means
some stormwater stuff, but I'm like, how
that
much
means
longer
that
would
means
they have?
we're all slated to spend six point
Yeah.
four million dollars
Yeah.
to replace the
Yep.
pavers.
Yeah, we are. And it's like, how much of that damage was, how much of that deterioration was accelerated by the overuse of salt there, right? Like we
Oh,
know,
all of it. All
yeah.
of it.
So
Pavers don't just deteriorate from the sun. There's pavers from the Romans still left out there.
yeah, and they I saw a quote from someone from the Department of Administration about like the wear and tear, supposedly because it's a high pedestrian use area. But like you said, Roman pavers still out there, like but they didn't salt it. Okay, so we did get a question about is there anything different in treating sidewalks versus bike paths?
Oh, interesting. I have never thought about that. Um, well, in the end, you're just looking to get bare pavement. Um, I would both are gonna both are going to work. This is if if I was biking myself, I'd probably rather see those being treated with brine because all that granular salt is gonna get tossed up into my sprockets and into my brakes and whatnot. Um, Glad to hear there's some hardcores that are still out there biking, even when you got to be even considering this. Um, I'd say the first thing is a good scrape, being able to scrape it well, but I would concern myself more with the correct application rate, whether you're using some bagged treated salt or whatnot. Um, I'm just picturing some of the bike paths I know of, like the rails to trails type ones. Most of them have ditches alongside them that go right into the waterways. I mean, from a getting clear pavement standpoint, no, you're gonna get the same with both. From a chloride runoff standpoint, you're gonna have drastically less chloride runoff using brine on there because those trails are so narrow to not have that salt scatter and end up into those ditches, which end up running into the waterways.
Mhm. Yeah, like you said, you want the bounce and scatter on the parking lots, right? We don't want them
Yeah.
on our roads. We don't want them on narrow bike paths. Yeah, I was actually in a conference like a week ago or like a forum event, and someone from the city of Madison had said, yeah, we lose either way in the bike paths because half the cyclists say, yeah, we want these salted down to bare pavement, right? We want bare pavement and we want that traction. And half the cyclists have like the studded tires
The big
and they
fat
really
tires.
they care about their bikes and they're like, we don't want any salt down. Why did you put salt down on the on the
Yeah.
bike path? So yeah, kind of depends on the community and those perspectives.
Yeah, I think brine would be the way to go. I mean, you have even from a production standpoint, um, you brine those parking that walkway or sorry, the bike path, you put brine there, you're gonna have bare pavement in 3 minutes. I mean, or less. It's that fast.
All right. Well, Aaron, I think I might cut you off just because
Okay.
my time in this office is limited. I gotta give it back to Barry. But this was great, and thanks for pushing yourself outside of the comfort zone with the technology one and two, like not actually getting to interact with other humans, which
Yeah, this
I
was
feel as
really weird for
well.
me.
Right? It's like I think as a human, we are conditioned like, where's the eye contact? Are people getting this? Are you with me? And without any of that, you're like,
Do you have
I
a
guess.
screen with faces? Because I forget. Do you have a screen with faces on your end?
I do not. No,
Oh, okay,
no
yeah, I
faces
don't.
on my end either. Yeah, but I'm thinking about maybe next time when we have you do the sidewalks presentation, maybe what we can do is we could just make it an open meeting, as long as other people don't mind being live on camera, so you can see that there are people in there. So,
Sure, sure.
but but yeah. So thanks again. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for being an advocate in general. I will, yeah, be in touch, I guess, going forward. But otherwise, yeah, folks have Aaron's email. Or you can reach out to me if you missed that for whatever reason. But I think you can just rewind on the YouTube. Probably don't use
Can
that word anymore.
can I ask something really quick?
Yeah.
Um, I'd appreciate if you guys actually found that this was worthwhile, or actually intend to implement any of this. I would love just a quick email that says, "Hey, this was worthwhile." That's my email on there. Just a quick email that says, "Hey, this was worthwhile, and we're going to try this." And because I'd love to follow up with you in midwinter and just say, "Hey, how's it going? Any questions on this, or how did it work for you?" Um, I'd really enjoy finding that kind of stuff out.
Okay. Well, thank you, Aaron. I will send an email out to folks so they've got your email and send that
Ah,
request
cool.
out there. Yeah, happy to do it.
All right.
Thank you so much. Okay, take
Bye-bye.
care. Be well.